us to be able to, reproduce the data so that once, because any kind of a seminar kind of goes by quickly and you tend to focus on something you might be interested in and then you miss like 3 other things that went by and you'll want to see them again later. So we'll have a recording of the session so that you can refer back to it later. Also, if you could keep yourselves muted unless you're actually planning on raising a question. There will be a couple of times between each of the 3 or 4 sections that I will say, hey, are there any questions? And you'll be, feel free to jump in at any time. And then at the very end, of course, we'll have a Q&A session, and that will allow you to, ask any questions that you would have. I see also Loyola, for one, is outside sales, and I didn't look at all the names, but welcome to the outside sales team as well. And so my name again is Damon Palmer, and again I've been in and out of access control circles for the better part of 21 years, 11 of which was in the dealer network, as Mary mentioned, and with Millennium for probably those same 11 years, working together in sales and in product development, especially as we talked about today, the 2N integration. I've had a big role in getting that ready for integration and production. So a lot of things to talk about. I'm going to try to keep a measured, slow pace, and I am going to try to mix it up. So this is not going to be a blizzard of slides. There will be slides, but we're going to kind of quickly go through them. I want to show you live things, and so there's going to be, and do some examples with you so we have some opportunity to kind of mix it up and see how the whole thing works. So let's go ahead and jump in. First thing I want to stress is that Millennium has been around a long time. The predecessors companies, as Millennium has continued to grow over the last 60 years, was Synergistics, and they were formed back in 1960. And Millennium has basically been in the same building since 1964. So a long history of developing products, such as back in 1976, were, I believe, the very first company to produce an electronic access control system. So that's a huge hallmark. And also developing with the magstripe readers for bank cards. And in 1994, for example, Millennium, through its Synergistics division, had over 80% of the ATM market. So if you think about that, back in that day, that's huge. 80% of all bank ATM access control was through Synergistics, which is part of the Millennium family of companies. So we have a long history, and as all the years have gone by, we've continued to evolve and upgrade and stay on the bleeding edge, so to speak. And now we have come out with our cloud-based software about 5 years ago, and we are continuing to develop that with different modules and integrations, and we'll talk a little bit about that. But a solid 60-plus year history, so we're not just somebody who blew up in the last cloud fad. We've been around for a long time, and our products have proven to be reliable for that whole time. We have a lot of large national companies, local companies that we service, such as Verizon Wireless, Lewis McChord Air Force Base, or I guess it's really a mixed-use military base, Northwestern University, University of Connecticut, Las Vegas PD, so on and so forth. So we have been around. We have been to the very top of the very largest companies in the country, all the way down to one-door systems or one ATM systems. So we cover the whole spectrum from one door to 100,000 and anything in between. So we're able to reach all of these different kinds of customers, including your dealers who come into the store every single day. The interface is probably what's most, I guess, useful and flexible to the end user. And basically, it's a very clean and inviting screen. It records all kinds of data, right to the screen, as far as pictures and activities and all the different things that you need, with a very simple left to right and top down kind of a perspective. And if you take a quick glance, all the key things that you would want to see are right there on the screen. And I'll show you a little bit later when I do a couple of quick configuration things. You'll see that it's very easy to change things, update things, and add and subtract card holders, things like that. So very flexible, full-featured system, from a one-door system for, let's say, a pawn shop, all the way up to a military base with hundreds and hundreds of doors, maybe even thousands of doors. We also integrate with just about everything out there as far as something that would attach to an access control system. Here you see pretty much all of the big players, Allegiant, ASSA ABLOY, Ving, Salto, HID, all the major brands of electronic or electrified lock sets we have integrated with. Some of them are wireless, some of them are hardwired, some of them are even standalone. For those of you familiar with Ving and Salto, where essentially your card, you carry it around and the data is on the card. So the doors are actually just standalone, or all the way up to the Allegiant locks, which are wireless, but fully online and always able to be polled, and they give battery reports and everything else, but fully online all the way down to standalone. We can integrate with just about any product out there. And not just that we can integrate, we already have integrated. All of these products that I've mentioned are already available in the market today. And again, I've already mentioned the wireless lock technologies. Cameras, same thing. We have several big companies, Digital Watchdog, Milestone, March Networks, and others. We are continually adding new integrations about every 2 to 3 months or maybe 4 months or so. We just finished the Digital Watchdog integration with the Spectrum server. I'm not sure if those same kind of products are available out there in California, but pretty much any system that has a server with a client and is based on the web or at least their network, we can integrate with. And not only that, even if you've never heard of Digital Watchdog, you can still use the Digital Watchdog interface to add on-VIF compatible cameras. And as long as you can license them through Digital Watchdog, we can link them and add them into Millennium. And I'll show you here a little bit later how that integration works. But it doesn't have to be Digital Watchdog cameras. It doesn't have to be Milestone cameras or any other brand. As long as they're on-VIF compatible, you can use them. And actually, it's even beyond that, because the camera that I'm broadcasting with is a PTZ Optics 30X optical zoom camera, and that's not on-VIF or CCTV, but I can also integrate that camera with very little issues as well. And I'll actually show you that in a few minutes as well. So camera integration, wireless lock integration, we work with all the major gate companies, all the major property management companies. We are in the process right now actually of integrating with property management companies, which could be commercial, residential, etc. So the product is very flexible. We're also trying to keep up with the very latest technology. So whether it's a fingerprint reader, we are fully integrated with the Suprema line, or whether it's facial recognition, and whether that's Suprema's Face Station or Face Station 2, or whether it's ZK Teco's SF1005 or 1007 or 1008, we're able to integrate with those as well. So they are able to detect whether you have a mask or whether you're running a temperature, or you can just use them for basic fingerprint processing, or you can just use it as a regular fob reader. They're all in one unit and all integrated into Millennium. Also, obviously mobile credentials are huge. Anything that we can get to our cell phone or smartphone that everyone on the planet is basically carrying around will be a good thing. We basically have two different flavors. One is the basic mobile credentials, and I say basic because it doesn't have geofencing, but really it's very powerful in that any door that you have access to on a particular site, you can open with just a click of the button on your phone, and you don't even have to be on property. So if you're a commercial property holder and you've got a 3-story building in downtown LA and your office is in Glendale, then all you have to do is pull out your phone when the guy calls and says, hey, I need to get into the phone room, and you just click the phone room door and it unlocks for them, whatever that is, 60 miles away, 50 miles away, whatever that is, and the door opens for them. Now, the other side of it is the second option is with geofencing, and that's what you see here kind of on the right-hand side of the slide, is that there are some highly secure areas where you don't want people to be able to open a door from off campus or even from Iceland. You want them to only open it within the range of their smartphone. So that goes through the NFC field on your phone, same app, same program. You just present it to the door, you get a pop-up, you just click on it, and it confirms that you are at the door, and it lets you in. And that would be for like a lab or maybe a military installation or some places where you have to physically be present. Then you can ensure that you're present using the geofencing with the NFC field on your phone. So we are continuing to adapt. Bluetooth and other technologies are also available. So what about Millennium Ultra? Basically, it is the core of our product. That's our flagship software. And again, it can be adapted from 1 to 100,000. And I'll tell you a little bit more about the features, just kind of explain how it's structured, because I'm not sure if all of you are familiar with the product. So I'll move through these relatively quickly and see if you can get a feel for the product. Millennium is a software and hardware-based solution. The software is available in what we call Ultra 5.0, is the latest edition that was just released back on March 25th, and also coupled with our E-Series or Enhanced Series hardware. So the two of those together make a whole system. The Millennium software can either be in the cloud, and we have all of our servers in the cloud on Amazon Web Services sites. So this is not, a rickety server here at the Millennium Factory. This is the world's largest storage site for cloud-hosted applications. So Amazon Web Services has it loaded. They're constantly updating their hardware and equipment, and they're backing up our system every day. You can specify whether you want that, every hour or every day, whatever. But generally, it's an out-of-sight, out-of-mind thing. And the likelihood of something going down at Amazon Web Services is extremely low. So that's one option. And then the other option is a typical install on a local computer. And Ultra is based on a Microsoft SQL integration. So if you have a local PC, we can load Microsoft SQL, either Express or full version, whichever you would prefer. And Millennium can be loaded locally on service. So for example, a military base or a hospital with HIPAA requirements will probably want to keep everything on the local site, but most of your other clients want the flexibility and the remote management that's available with the cloud-hosted option. The hardware itself is roughly broken up into two pieces, although there's a lot of overlap here. The idea of the engineered system is that we have boards that are specified for particular specifications, whether that's military or institutional, and for the most part, therefore, more let's say overly specified job requirements where you have to have this here, this product here, that product there, it has to match the spec sheet and so on. Whereas the pre-engineered system, it can do probably 100,000 doors as well, but it's going to be available in pre-engineered. In other words, it's already built kits so that the ease of install is key. So if someone comes in, one of your smaller dealers, and they just want to install 20 doors, then we'll just sell them 5 4-door kits, and they walk out. They're going to spend about 10 or 15 minutes putting 2 or 3 screws in the wall to mount each can, and all they have to do is plug each can into power and into the local network, run their reader wires to the doors, or mount the cans at the doors. That's your choice as well, and they're essentially ready to go. The engineered system, you can break up in pieces. You can put certain things in one floor, other things on another floor, whatever the specification requires. So one just allows for already pre-specified engineered kind of a solution, where the pre-engineered are designed to just pop cans in, plug them in, and you're good to go. But they can be worked in conjunction, or they can work apart, depending on the circumstances. I'm going to skip over these and that. Just like probably any access control system that you sell, whether I think we were talking earlier in Paxton system, for example, or some of the others, you're going to have 6 basic components. You're going to have software, whether that's in the web or local, a power supply of some kind, a supervisory controller, a door controller or an access point controller, a credential reader of some kind, whether it's fingerprint or prox or Bluetooth, whatever, and then you're going to need some credentials. So how does this fit into the Millennium structure? Well, let's look at a couple quick examples. This is a 10-door quick install system. So this is the pre-engineered. And essentially you need the software, which will be the hosted version. And you'll need 3 kits, a 2-door and 2 4-doors to make up the 10 doors. So 3 door kits and the software, and you can install these, like I said, all in one room. The software is in the cloud, and all you have to do is point the boxes to the IP address of your Amazon Web Services account, and you're all set to go. Now, that's all handled by Millennium. We can set all that up for you, even for a local dealer. So they really don't have to worry about all the web interface items and everything. All they're doing is mounting kits, attaching up the doors, and then setting up the software for whatever card holders and access levels that the client desires. So as a decision tree, I like to kind of think through, I was talking with Barry here earlier, and what's the thinking behind what actually gets sold over the counter? And one of the first questions is, does the site require the software or the database to be on site? And if that is a yes answer, like I said, for example, like a hospital where they have, for HIPAA requirements, they need to have it on site, then you will use the local version of the software and you'll use the engineered system components. You could also use a mix and match with a pre-engineered, but typically if you're going to be in a hospital or like an Air Force base kind of a thing, you're probably going to use engineered system components because they have a lot more levels of complication with their own infrastructure as well as the access control. If it's no requirement to be local, then go ahead and use hosted. That's a great option. It allows for remote options. It's always updated, and you don't have to worry about it. It's like the TV commercial, set it and forget it. Local version, you got to worry about the box, right? It's up to you to maintain it, and so that becomes its own little headache. Will the installation be done with an installer that has a lot of experience? Well, if the answer is yes, then use the engineered components. If the answer is no, then use the pre-engineered kits. So for someone who doesn't have a lot of experience, it's a lot easier to slide them a 4-door kit. They go install it, connect up their 4 doors, go online through a browser, and we'll link it up for them, and they can set up real quickly. This can all be done in half a day. It's a really a quick way to do things. And it's less expensive because all the innards of the boxes or the kits have already all been pre-wired. So all you need to do is plug it into the power, plug it into the internet, and then run your reader wires. And then the bottom line is for the option between local and hosted is, do you want the responsibility for the upkeep and maintenance of that server? And if you don't, then use hosted. Let Millennium and let Amazon do all your maintenance. So you never have to worry about a Windows update messing up your setup. You never have to worry about the hard drive failing. You never have to worry about any of that. Hosted has all that covered in spades. If you want that responsibility, that's fine. You're welcome to it. Then use the local version, and it's just as powerful and robust as the hosted version, but it is geared to be on one computer in there, in the client's site. Let's just briefly talk about some of the features. These are all new features for version 5 that just came out, like I mentioned, a couple of weeks ago. Again, I've already talked a little bit about the camera integration, so I'm not going to spend a whole lot about that. Just a reminder that we are adding new integrations all the time. If you have a particular vendor of CCTV equipment that you would like to have integrated, by all means, let the home office know up in Massachusetts, and they'll be glad to get that scheduled for one of the next ones that we are going to integrate. We have a few in the pipeline already, but we will be glad to look at anyone that you think will generate a lot of sales out of IML California. We have a parking management module, which is new for this last version. And I'm going to actually show you that one a little bit later. So I'll go ahead and pass on that now. But just in passing, the module manages the total size of the parking lot. So if it's 100 parking spots and the 101st car shows up at the gate, it won't let them in. Or it only lets authorized people in. So if you have people who have just one car, they come into the gate, they pass the fob back and try to get a second car in, the gate won't let them in. So it's a way for a property manager to manage what kind of cars are on the lot and whether there's too many cars on the lot. We also have a visitor management module, and the visitor management module is linked directly into our badging software. If you have the whole badging kit that comes with the printer, whether it's a 4-color card or whether it's a paper sticky one like they use at some hospitals, or whatever your printer is, we're able to, for the most part, we're compatible with most of the modern printers that are out there right now. So you can enter a visitor and you can print out a Prox card with a picture on it, or a magstripe card with a picture on it, or you can just print a sticky label with no access control at all. It really is up to you. It also allows, if for the ones that have either Prox or MAG or UPC, you can actually give them rights to doors that expire in an hour, in a day, or maybe there's a guy coming in to replace an air handler and they're only going to be here for 4 hours, then the card can be set to expire in 4 hours and you're good to go. And we also have a feature with the visitor management that allows you to block visitors or blacklist them. So if they've come, created a stink, if they try to come back 6 months, 12 months down the road, then they won't be able to create it and it will show you why they were blacklisted. So a lot of neat features with that as well. We've come out with a new IP controller. I'm going to show you that for the elevators. So I will let that conversation happen with the unit itself. This is a nice new feature, is the client management portal. And this allows you as IML distributor to peek into all of the sales that you have made of Millennium Ultra systems. So you can dial in, you can see when their SMAs expire, you can see whether all of their doors and site controllers are online and working. You can see what the latest version of the software is. You can see what the client is licensed for. You can go in and actually check individual cameras. It's tremendous because you could spend a morning and if you had 100 clients, you could just go from client to client to client right through the portal, and you'd be able to check on each one of them, and you could see whether a property has problems, and you probably need to call the dealer and tell them they need a service call, or that an SMA is expiring in a month, and we probably ought to bill them for that, and so on. But the portal really brings all of that information to you on one screen, and you can just kind of take a look at it like a dashboard, but it allows you to see all of the Millennium clients that you've sold at one glance. And also, the end user portal is also new for this version of the software, and that allows the end user, the actual property, to see what version of the software they're running or what they're licensed for or when their subscriptions and things are expiring. They can also sign up for a newsletter, and there's a bunch of other things. And we're developing even more for both the client management portal and the end user portal that will allow those end users to have even more information. The new 2N Intercom, I'm going to show you that one. That integration has happened over the last 6 to 8 months. That's been a tremendous integration, very smooth, very seamless, very easy to use. And this basically takes a lot of the heartache out of older style teleentry units that were connected to a POTS line, and you're actually dialing out through a copper line and adding and subtracting users or changing the functions or configuration of the doors is a real headache when you're doing it over a modem. Even the newer modern ones are not quite as slick as the 2N, especially in how they're integrated with the access control company. And you only have one database. The database is the Millennium Ultra system. You don't have to keep, for example, Millennium and Butterfly or Millennium and SES. It's just one database. So it's easier to manage for the customer and a lot easier to diagnose issues and things like that when you really only have one database and one product. So very good unified product, very, very happy with that one. We also have and I've already mentioned this with the geofencing, so I'm going to go ahead and skip over that one. And I've already talked about the property management module, so I'm going to move on just for the sake of time. I mentioned Allegion here, Schlage, Von Duprin, et cetera, with their wired and wireless locks. But again, we are just as compatible with, and I say compatible, we're integrated with the Assa Abloy lock, Salto, Ving, several other vendors, HID, and anything that, any generic lock that's electrified that has essentially a 2-wire or maybe a 4-wire, 2 for power and 2 for signal or lights or whatever, we can integrate with. So there's several different integrations, and if I had the time today, I could pull out my Allegion samples and I could show you how those work. But they're all integrated right into Millennium. You don't have to worry about separate software, and for the most part, these will work with either Millennium credentials or mobile credentials, Bluetooth credentials, whatever is needed with these locks, we can integrate with. Another nice feature is tenant management. And this is good for a lot of different applications where you have a large organization with either sub-departments or divisions, or let's say it's military based, you would have, maybe it's the PBX or the commissary or the hospital or security or flight line operations or whatever. So the commander wants to keep track of the whole system, every door, every camera on site, but there's individual tenants within the overall management, and we can break the database up into pieces so that, let's say, the commissary only sees what the commissary is supposed to see, and the flight line's only going to see what they're supposed to see, but the commander can see everything. And that really helps with those kinds of hierarchical setup. And this will work with a 2-tower condominium where you've got homeowner association in one tower and you got another homeowner association in the other tower. It's one property, you share all the resources, but the database is broken into 2 pieces so that one HOA doesn't see what the other HOA has and vice versa. And it allows for legal management of the condos or apartments or even office space. It doesn't really matter, but it gives you that flexibility. And then asset management, which is one of the newest modules that we have. This is under current development. I've already seen an early prototype and it works great. Really what this does is if you're running a spa or a gym, you can check out towels. You just put these little NFC or prox tags right into the towel seam and they get checked out. If they don't come back, you bill the customer. If they go out and come back, obviously it relieves you from the list. It keeps track of all of your assets that are in-house, and it keeps track of who has all of the assets that have checked out, and it will provide reporting based on whatever interval that you would like. But you could use this for deck chairs, for scooters, for all kinds of different things. Anything that is a discrete asset that you want to be able to keep track of, and if it doesn't return for some reason, you want to be able to bill somebody else, then the asset management module would be for you. So a lot of different features, a lot of things going on in Millennium. All right, well, let's take a quick look at the actual product itself. And I would ask that you just kind of bear with me a little bit. I'm going to do a couple of share switching here, and it may seem a little disjointed at first. But first, let me break this share first, and I can okay, and then I'll let me share the actual Millennium screen. Okay, can everybody see the Millennium screen? Okay. So this is the software from a first glance. When you first log in, you'll have all of this at your disposal. Across the top, again, roughly left to right will be the level of importance to the left and less importance to the right, and also top down. So the structure is designed to keep your eyes moving where the most important things are happening right on the screen. Some of that is handled by color, and you can see on the screen that there are many different colors here for lines. That's all user definable. You can tell it what color you want certain actions to be. And then in the bottom, you'll see that there's also an alarm section, and there's 4 alarms already queued up in there. And I'll show you one of those here in a second. So the screen is very helpful for a quick glance at what's going on. The system, again, it works left to right. So this first home screen here will have all of the activities that are happening right now. And then as you move across, you'll come to our cardholder section where you can define individual cardholders. And as you move forward, the visitor section and the car parking module, and then onto the property management module are all just very easy to find right across the top. And then the next tab over is for hardware. So this is where you would specify the different site controllers and the different doors. And notice how on the left, you can move through the entire system just by moving down from block to block. Every piece of hardware that's attached to the system will appear on this screen. So I know I've looked at a couple of other products over my years of being certified with Software House and CanTech and a lot of other products. And it was very clunky going back and forth to this screen, that screen. It's all handled on one screen. So you can set up a 4-door system just by clicking on a site and clicking on whatever that particular site is and putting in a few basic pieces of information, add your doors, and hit save, and you're good to go. We can also do elevator controllers, and I'll show you that a little bit later as well. All the floors that are available to this elevator. You can define elevator cars, whether they have a front reader, a rear reader, etc., and put whatever relays you need to go with that. And again, just straightforward, top down in this case, and left to right. And then there's system administration. There's settings here for managing your licensing and some other customer ways to customize your screen and all kinds of different things in here. There's also some diagnostic information. You can do local backups. You can export and import card holders. Very functional, very easy to use. There's a historical log that allows you to see everything that's happened. If I click here, you can see everything that's happened today, and it just drops everything that's happened all day right in here. Or you can pick any day. You can add individual doors, individual readers, whatever you need. You can see every event right through the historical log view. And then we have maps and things that are kind of neat. I like this one in particular where it gives you kind of a status of your whole system. If they're all green, that means you're good to go. All of your devices are online and functioning properly. There's also floor mapping where, for example, if I have a floor set up like this, you can put whatever, it's just a picture file, a PNG or a JPEG, and you can drop it in here. So if you had a whole site plan and you had 20, 30 cameras and 20, 30 doors, you could sprinkle them right in the screen, right on overlay, right on top of your site map. And I put a simple one in here just for today's demonstration. So basic floor plan. I've dropped a door on here. If you hover over it, it tells you exactly which door that is. And then I also have added a camera. And again, it tells you which camera this is. If I want to see what's happening at that door right now, I just click live video, and this will show you what's going on. You can see me talking here live to you. And so you can see that camera wherever it is on site as long as it's connected to the network. And then a local door, all the functions that are available for a door you can use. I'll just unlock it real quick. I don't know if you heard the relay, but the relay just popped on. So you can interact with your doors and your cameras right on one screen. And then also, this is new for this latest version, is an enhanced screen for the elevators. And it doesn't have to be, quite as fancy as this, but essentially you just drop all your relays on the screen, and let me just pick one, right click it, and just hit unlock. And then you can, I don't know if you heard the relay through the audio pickup or not, and you can manage from the front desk, you can manage, from a security office, whatever you need to do. But through these maps, you're able to control your elevators, your doors, your cameras. Anything on the system can be dropped on the map, and it makes it very flexible for even remote users to see what's going on at their site. And I could show you a ton more, but I will. Let's shift to the hardware itself. I'm going to drop this, and let me see what happens here. Mary, is this large screen now with a camera on it? Oh, I think maybe Mary had to step out. Barry, is this full screen for you to see?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, it is.
Perfect. Okay. Just wanted to make sure before I started rambling on and you're not seeing the same thing I am. A couple of things to note. This is a two-door kit. And again, the prepackaged or pre-engineered come in one door, two door, and four door. And you'll notice here that this is in my opinion, a very elegant design. It's a nice small enclosure. I guess you can get from my hands for scale. It's only about 1 foot by 1 foot. And there's just one board in here. So very simple to build and install. There's mounting screw holes right in the back. I think you can see those right up here at the top, and there's another pair at the bottom. And you'll note also that there's just 2 wires coming into this can, one for power and one here for the IP connection or network connection. And other than the readers and and the door attendant wiring for the relays and contacts, that's all you need. Plug it into the wall, plug it into the network, and hang this on the wall, and you're good to go. Now, I mentioned that this was kind of a demo for the parking system, and just basically just so you can kind of get a feel for it. I have, instead of RFID readers, I have a front and rear reader for this particular parking garage. And I have a credential for car number 1. And if we come in, if you'll see right about here, you'll see a relay light go on. Okay, if you see that, actually it's over here. There we go. And the car is now entered the lot. If I hand off my fob and try to go in again, it acknowledges my fob, but notice that the relay light doesn't come on. So you can't pass your fob back, you can't pass back a transponder and get another car in until that car leaves. Once that car leaves, then I can come back around and present, and now the relay again works. So the same kind of thing would work if the lot's full. It will recognize your key fob, but it won't open the gate. So this is both a very elegant design, in my opinion, and just very easy to install with just local power. So this kit could be mounted right by one of the two gate operators and plugged into the local power, because the gate has 120 already. And the gate, hopefully there's a network drop somewhere nearby, or you can run Cat 5, obviously up to 300 feet. And that's all you need. This is just a quick can. It's got a locking camber on the outside, and it's very portable and very easy to use. So very, very elegant and simple, I think, for most quick installs. One of our other products, and this is the one I was telling you about earlier, was the 2N integration. And here you'll see that this is a very, very kind of a European contemporary design. This doesn't just look like metal. This is like heavy gauge stainless steel brushed. This also comes in a black facing for if you want that kind of a look. And it's designed at IK10 standard, so it'll take a sledgehammer and you will not be able to harm this or force the door open. But it also is delicate to have a touch screen and also a camera and an intercom built into it. And just for ease of use, I can cast your notice right here. You'll see that I am listed as the second listing here in this directory. And just follow me along here. I'm going to share the screen back to the software. And as this is as quick and easy as it can be, I go to the card holder and I'll pick up myself. And then I'm just going to backspace over my phone number and then save it. And then if you'll notice here, it takes about 15 seconds for it to process. But if you watch the screen here in about 10, 9, 8, you'll see the 2N logo and see how I'm still listed here as number 2. And I promise you, there's a 2N logo coming. There we go. And then I'm gone, okay? And then in order to put me back on there, or if it's a brand new person, just type their number into this field. And then click save. Oh, I'm sorry, I need to stop this, don't I? There we go. And then if you can see here, there's only one entry on the screen right now. And then you should see the 2N logo. And then I'm back. So very easy to use. The days of dialing into a teleentry unit or using some other methodology of updating the unit and having a separate database has all been eliminated. This unit is directly integrated with Millennium, and it works very well and very easily. There's a lot more I could show you about that, but for today's time, I don't want to run too far, and I don't want to see the heavy eyes here as we approach lunchtime. So let's go ahead and move on to the elevator controller. And again, this is a new device. It's only available in a couple of places yet. We won't be releasing it officially here for another couple of weeks. But again, if you'll notice, this is the same kind of minimalist, elegant design. There's a communication board at the top. You can see here where the IP connection and the LAN connection is available. And over on the right, you'll see that the wires come down to an internal power supply. So just like the two-door kit, this has 2 plugs, one for power and one for the local network or internet. And the only other thing you need to do is run an external wire to the elevator reader board. And this board will sit either inside the cab behind the control panel or up on top of the cab. And then you'll just run the wires down to the actual reader, which is typically mounted right on the face of the control panel or maybe behind a piece of smoked glass. And that way it's communicating all the way back up the rider cable. But the basic installation is very clean and economical. So essentially, this is a fob I programmed for 401, and then I'll put my finger here on 401. You can see I've just labeled the relays for ease of seeing, and it drops the relay, and then whatever time frame you have for that to be delayed, and then it will relock it. So again, a very elegant design. What I also like about this is whether it's 16 relays or whether it's 80 relays, we've expanded the relays from 64 to 80. You can actually have up to 5 of these boards in an enclosure. Not this enclosure. The enclosure does get a little bit bigger, but the philosophy is one plug, one connection, and just a simplified design. And if you have 5 relay boards in there in addition, they'll already be all pre-wired, they're all ready to go, except for the reader connection. And then of course you'll need a multi-pair wire to go over to the elevator operator's relays. But very simple to install. It's the same 4-screw kind of thinking, mount it to the wall, plug it into power, connect the network drop, and then just run your reader down the rider cable, which obviously the elevator company is going to do that piece of it. And then you'll just run your individual wires back over to the elevator operator itself. So very easy to use hardware. And again, if I had the time, I would show you how easy it is also to program it. But all new equipment, 10 times faster, by the way, than the older legacy boards. So it takes much shorter time to download users into an elevator, especially if you have a busy property with hundreds or thousands of users. It'll take 1/10 the time that it normally does. And we have some properties where it's a 64-story high-rise, and trust me, the old system took about 30 minutes to download, but with the new boards, again, it's down around 3-4 minutes, which is tremendous, much less inconvenient, and just much more efficient as well. So that's just kind of a quick overview of the hardware. You got to see a representative infrastructure door unit. You got to see an integration, and you also got to see the IP elevator controller. So just little signs, little tidbits of how complex the system could actually get, but also it could just be a simplified 2-door kit and an instance of the software, and you're good to go. So from simple to the most complex installation you can think of, Millennium can deal with both of those, or anything in between for that matter. All right, well, let's take a look at a couple of examples, and I'm going to drop back into the presentation here. And I wanted to look at a couple, I wanted to look at an inside sales example and more of an outside sales example, but as I spoke with Barry earlier, I guess the nuance of what makes an inside sales versus an outside sales is more just the end dealer or customer's connection to whichever sales team. But just follow me anyway. I'm assuming the inside sales are mostly doing the over-the-counter and over-the-phone things, and you're having to price things out and do some spec work for small and medium-sized businesses. And if you're working from home, you're obviously assisting the outside salespeople for even larger systems. So let's look at a basic system, and then we'll look at something that's a little bit more involved. Here's the roundup here. Customer comes up to the counter and wants a 6-door access control system for the clubhouse at Oakmont Country Club. The owner wants to be able to monitor it from her home in Glen Oaks, and she wants to be able to integrate the AIP cameras that she installed last year. So what are we going to recommend for her club? And this is just kind of food for your thought. What products would you normally sell to meet this specification? And if you have a choice to meet this specification, what would it be? And how can you quickly quote and offer an integration solution from Millennium? Well, let's take a quick peek at that. So as we look at it, well, actually, let me take a moment here. I keep forgetting this part. When we're all done today, I will be sending out a quick price card for counter sales. And whether you're working in the branch or whether you're working from home, this is just 3 pages, and probably 60 to 70, maybe even 80% of the things that you need to price out with Millennium will be on one of those 3 pages. I'm also going to send you the long price list, which has all 400 and 500 lines, whatever it is, of everything that we sell, short of a few things that are in development. And that way you have everything if you need it. Remember, you can always call the office or call your salesman. In this case would be Wayman Brown, and he will be more than happy to help you out to price something out if you're not able to get it from the price list. I will also send out a full product guide, and this will describe some of the things that I've already talked about, but everything that we offer right now, and that will give you some pictures and some, basically a little sales brochure for every single area of the software, and that will be helpful when you're discussing features with your customers. And then finally, we also have some market guides for, let's say, house of worship, for multi-dwelling units, or whether it's a commercial property or whatever the case might be. I think there's 5 or 6 of them. And we just include those so that you have something either to give to a client, either by email or to bring it with you, to your next meeting, just so you have enough materials to make the sale. So let's focus in now on pricing this system out. Remember, it's a 6-door system. They want to be able to do remote management, and they want to integrate their 8 IP cameras. So as we look at the components here, the first question is, well, which software are we going to use? Well, they want remote management. So one of our quick decisions is, well, let's go ahead and use the Ultra hosted so that they can log in at home on the cloud and they can see everything that's going on. So that's our software choice. And then the hardware choice is, this is a relatively straightforward install. You got 6 doors here. So I would recommend the prepackaged, pre-engineered systems with a 2-door kit and a 4-door kit. And then we'll talk about the IP camera integration. So let's see how this works out price-wise. So how do we price it? Well, again, the hosted version is sort of a software as a service subscription. So this will come on a grid here that you see on the screen. And you just go down to the number of doors you have. In this case, it's 6. And 6 doors is $420. So far we're at $420 for the subscription for the software. And then let's move on to the integration module. And here, all of our video integrations are about the same. The pricing is the same. So you can use the March pricing that we have here, and I'll highlight it with a red circle. And the bottom line is they are $63 per camera for a one-time connection fee. And that allows us to cover the cost of the server and client that needs to be loaded on the client's network, and also the ability to, excuse me, and then the ongoing $6.30 for, actually that's $6.30 for each camera as an annual recurring fee, not per month per camera. So in our example, it's going to be 8 times 63 is $504, and then 8 times 630 will be $50.40 for a total cost of $554.40 for the first year. And then when we get to the end, I'll show you how the recurring fee works in the second year and years after that. Now, since we're using the pre-engineered kits, we're not going to need any external power supplies or supervisory controllers, individual door controllers, or even enclosures, because it's already been designed for you all in one kit. So we'll go right to the combination of kits. And again, you're going to need a 2-door kit and a 4-door kit to make the 6 doors. So again, back to your price list, and you'll see we have our 1, 2, and 4-door kits. They're already priced out, and they're already configured for either no readers, you're going to bring your own, or with Millennium readers, which are a value line, and those are priced out into the kit price. Or it can be an HID reader that we also sell, or it can be another reader that you, like I said, you can bring your own. So we're going to just use the Millennium readers to keep it simple. And those, the 2-door kit is $749, and that includes everything you need that you just saw in the can. And you will also get the 2 readers to go with that. And then there's a 4-door kit, and it will have a second board with 2 more door positions, and then you'll get 4 readers with that. So the $749 for the 2 doors, $1249 for a 4-door kit, and the total is $1998. Then the only other thing you need are credentials. So let's go to the full picture. So the software is $420. The integration is $554.40, as we talked about earlier. The door kits, the 2-door and the 4-door, add up to $1998. And then you'll need some credentials. And I would probably recommend for something that's going to be remotely monitored, and also like a country club is going to have a bunch of different people, and probably a mobile credential is going to be real easy for them because the clubhouse is outside. There's no issues with cellular or anything else, and very reliable. And for 100 credentials, it's only $84. So the mobile credentials are 84 cents a piece per year. Now, the other nice thing about mobile credentials is they never stop working. So if you have a membership, let's say at this clubhouse, and it expires after a year, you revoke the privileges from that person, and that credential falls back into your bank. So as soon as someone new comes on, you create a new card holder, and now you can use that credential all over again. It'll just issue a separate number for it, and then you can continue to use it. So you'll always have 100 credentials, whether they're all used or whether they're half used and half unused, but they never go away. You can't lose them, and you can't have them stolen. So unless someone steals the actual phone, but you can revoke that as well. So the idea here is that if you use the mobile credentials, you only have to buy them once forever, as opposed to buying actual physical fobs, which either get lost or they get stolen or the client doesn't return them or whatever the case might be, and you're constantly buying a box of 100 credentials. So there's pros and cons of both. So I just included the mobile credentials here, very inexpensive, and our total is about $3,000. So for a 6-door system, with all the features that you saw earlier, except for some of them that have additional costs, including the camera integration, is $3,000. And that works out to about $417 a door, for those of you who keep track of the per door price. I think our industry average is somewhere around $500, so this is a good value. And then the upfront integration of the camera is $69.30. And then every year after that, it's $554.40. For the software and the integration, and that can be marked up and rebuilt to your customer, so you can continue to have recurring revenue year after year. We will obviously share in that because we charge you $554, or whatever you charge that up would be your revenue year after year. That works out to about $84 a door as far as ongoing cost, and then the cameras at $6.30 a year each for their upkeep for the small amount of video clips that they would store. Now, just while we're on that, and before I leave this example, I think I'm getting a little low on time, but let me go ahead and show you that real quick. If I can get my mouse where it needs to go. There we go. Okay, I'm going to drop the share, and let's go back to the, just in light of the camera integration, I kind of wanted you to see what it actually looks like. So the idea is that we have integrations that come through either Digital Watchdog or Milestone or any of the other major brands that we integrate with. And we're able to link them in, and they become a list of cameras. And I only have 2 here, but I have an Axis camera here. And note this is a Digital Watchdog integration, but I have an Axis camera IP, and then I have the camera I'm actually broadcasting on as 2 cameras. So it doesn't have to be Digital Watchdog. You can bring any camera to the table that's compatible with Digital Watchdog, and that's a huge list, by the way. Same thing for Milestone. They're very generic in that regard, and you can bring the cameras right here into Millennium, as you see on the screen. Now, once they're integrated, all I have to do is link them to a door. And if I go and present a key fob at that door, the camera is going to continually record 15 seconds before anything happens. And it's, you know, rewriting until something happens. And then it stores that 15 seconds along with the event. And then it records 15 seconds of post camera until it stops completely, and then 15 seconds more. And then it drops it nice and neat right into your audit line. So for example, I have one here that I did a couple weeks ago when we introduced version 5. So you can just click on the camera from this, and I can see exactly what happened when that person presented a key fob at this door. And you'll see me here picking up the key fob and blah, blah, blahing for the product introduction. And I will eventually make my way over to the reader. But notice it's recording the whole time, whether there's motion or not. Once it sees motion, it's recording. And now, as you notice, as I walk away and fumble and bumble and then finally get off screen, then it will rapidly come to the end. But it's recording all that automatically and just drops it right into your audit log. So you could have hundreds of these every day or every night, or you could just have a discrete few. But to research them later, if you're a security or maybe you're an actual auditor or whatever the case might be, you can always go back to your historical log and then click. I'll have to go back to March 25th here. Let me see. Let me do this the easy way. Sorry. 03. And then you'll see everything all the way back. And let me run to the bottom here, because I did the demonstration yesterday as well with another group from you guys. I don't need 5 o'clock in the morning, that's for sure. Okay. And then you see here, all these camera are all linked here, and I can just click on those. And so they're embedded for as long as you have storage space. And that can be an external drive, it can be an internal drive, wherever you point the digital watchdog or the milestone or the Acoba, whatever you're using, wherever you apply that, that's where it will store it. And as long as you have storage space there, I can come back later. This happened back on March 25th. And again, that will play out. So very neat feature. And again, I showed you already the integration to the mapping, so you can have situational awareness. So it's a really great tool. All right, let me go ahead and jump back to the presentation. Okay, this is a little bit more complicated here, and as the clock continues to run, looks like I went a little long-winded here. Bottom line here is your biggest GC brings you a takeoff sheet for a new commercial mixed-use retail and office space building in Glendale. The owner wants to be able to manage each tenant separately. He wants to have auto-lock common area schedules. He wants to allow for individual settings for the retail areas and the office suites. We also have a 6-story hydraulic elevator that we have to manage. We also need a tele-entry unit to only allow people who are actually invited up to the elevator to the office suites. And just for counts, there are 3 retail stores, 4 tenants, 12 common areas, and 6 building utility doors. On the surface, the doors add up to 32, just to make it simple. And we need to deal with the basic doors, the software, the elevator, and the tele-entry unit. So let's dive right in. Okay, so same price list. You're just going to go down farther down the list, and you'll see here that you get down to number 32 doors. It's $1,040. So for those 32 doors, the software is $1,040 per year. Upfront $1,040, and then each year after. That's the subscription rate for the software. And then we have a 2N intercom. And just to cut through the text here, instead of a phone line, the 2N intercom uses a SIP line, which is very similar to a voice over IP telephone system. And you need to rent one of those or buy one of those or lease one of those. With our integration, we sell the SIP service itself. And instead of spending around $60 for a business line for the tele-entry unit, it's $65 per unit per month for the SIP service. So not a whole lot more, although you will need to mark that up a little bit so that you're making a profit on it as well. But it does replace that expense, so it's not all new cost. Actually, most of it is replacing a cost that they're already paying for month after month. And then it's very simple after that. It's $1 a month for every name that's in the system. So this system has 2 names in it, so it'd be $2 a month for audio services. And if you want video services, so you can see them on your phone, then it's $2 a month. So for every name in the unit, it's $1 a month for audio, $2 a month for video. So at the bottom there, I summarize. So you'll need $780 a year for the SIP service. And again, typical business phone service, you'd be at $720 anyway. So not a whole lot more, and you get a whole lot more because you're actually getting video as well as audio services on your phone. And then for as many numbers are in the system, I just said there's 7 numbers in there just to have an example. So 160, because there's 3 retail and 4 tenants. So we have those 4 in there. And that would be $168 a year for a grand total of $948 a year. Remember that you'd have to buy the 2N equipment, the unit, the frame, and the back plate. And there's an integration license. I'm sure you guys sell 2N, so you can figure out what that number is for you. In the past, I remember it being right around $65. So you'll have to check that out on your own. Excuse me. And then we need the door kits. And again, the reason I'm going with door kits on this one is because we have 3 retail spaces and 4 tenant office spaces. And because of fire code, you're going to need 2 ways out. So each unit will have 2, front door, back door. So 3 retail and then 4 offices. So you need 7 times 2 is 14. So we're going to need 7 2-door kits for each of those office and retail spaces. And then we're going to need the remainder doors in the complex kits as well to make up the total of 32. So bottom line is the 2-door kit is $749. The 4-door kits are $1249, just like before. And if you add up all that combination for 32 doors, it comes out to $10,988. That includes the Millennium readers already in there. So the only thing that you will have that you will need to come up with are the credentials. Now, the only other thing, if you'll bear with me as it crosses 3 o'clock here, we just have that elevator to deal with. And again, the elevator is relatively straightforward. You're going to need the elevator can, and you're going to need the elevator card, and you're going to need a reader, essentially what I showed you earlier. So enclosure for the relays, the card for the reader on the car, and the reader that you're going to put on that car. And if you go down the pricing where I have the red circle, you'll see that that adds up to $1,233.52. Not very expensive considering you're controlling that elevator. It's accessible through the 2N unit as well and through the reader that will be actually in the card reader. And just for the sake of time, I'm going to come down to the total. Okay, so for this one, which again, reading the paragraph was a very complex setup, but really it's a very basic and easy thing to do in Millennium. The software is $1,040 a year, and then in the additional years, it'll be $1,040. The integration is all up front, except for the reader. I'm sorry, there should be another column there, I apologize. It's $948 for the first year, and then after that, it's $168 a year for the 7 names and numbers in the unit. So there should be $168 additional dollars in the annual recurring side. The kits were $10,988. The elevator equipment, $1,233. I just gave you an example of 100 credentials that are actual key fobs, which are $275 a piece. So 100 of them would be $275. Or you can go with the mobile credentials, which are $84 per 100. Grand total cost on this, $14,600. I mean, I think that's a great price. And per door, it's $441.47. So it's a little more expensive than the basic example we did earlier. But the reason is because this includes the elevator equipment, which is more expensive for those relays than it is for the doors. So it brings the cost up a little bit higher from $417 up to $441. And then your annual cost going forward is $1,144 plus the $168 that I left out, apologize. And that would be your annual amount that you would mark up to your customer. And that would be ongoing revenue to IML California. So overall, fairly straightforward. The price list will help guide you through that process. It's almost like as you follow the price list, you can design your system at the same time. But Wayman Brown will be able to help you as your direct salesperson. I'm available as a relationship manager. You can call the office up in Boston, very knowledgeable up there as well. And we have really good tech support as well. So why Millennium? Very flexible, feature rich. If we can't get it integrated, there's a problem, or we are currently in the process of integrating it. We are very flexible in that regard, and I think very, very complex as far as its ability to integrate with just about anything. It's cloud-based for the most part, unless you buy a local version of the software. Mobile-oriented, cloud-based oriented, so all the cutting-edge, latest things that we are integrating with are coming through that cloud-based native realm of getting everything either on a smartphone or on a tablet or in some way taking advantage of the internet. And also we have multiple integrations for just about everything, whether it's a facial reader, whether it's a electrified wireless lock or a camera. Like I said, we haven't even talked about gate systems and all other kinds of products out there that, you know, infrared beams, you name it, we can do all that. So it's a great one-stop place where we can be very innovative with what we know and apply it to each and every job that you are pricing and selling. And that's it in a 1-hour nutshell. All right. Any questions?
Damon, this is Mary. There was one question about parking. I think it's
Yes.
been satisfied, but
Okay.
Cliff, are you good? He may have jumped off already. He had a question that reads as follows. If the parking lot is full, is there some kind of indicator to let people know the parking lot is full before they pull up to the reader?
Right. What there is a relay that's available on this particular two-door unit. Actually, there's several. There's 2 extra relays in here, and either of those relays can be set to, if you get a third-party either parking sign that just turns into a red stop sign, or lot is full. There's a lot of different companies that sell those signs, and they have an onboard relay. So you would just run a jumper pair of wires right from the two-door kit enclosure right over to the sign, and it would change the state of that sign to say whatever has been programmed into it. We don't sell the actual sign, but we do have the relay that will change that sign's position already in the kit. Yes.
Great, thank you.
Any other questions? Well, hearing none, I will bring this to a close. Again, I will be sending out the information that I mentioned earlier out to you all. I'll send it to Jack Brewer, and Jack will distribute it out to you. And again, we'll have, since we recorded today's session, we'll be able to send you that as well, so that if you missed anything or you want to go back and see what you might have missed, or maybe you didn't quite get it the first time, you'll be able to use that as a sales tool or training tool going forward. So thank you so much for your attention today. And if you have any questions, of course, contact Wayman Brown or Mary or myself, and we'll be glad to help you out. I hope you have a great day, and I know it's just a day away, but have a great weekend as well. And thank you for allowing us this opportunity to present Millennium to you. Thanks, you.
David.
Have a great day.
Great job. Thank you.